Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.
Welcome to Peter and Roughie's Football Show, sponsored by Arnold Clark. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Ruff, Tam McManus and Charlie Adam are here with me on today's show. Great to have your company. You can follow us on Facebook. You can share the stream with your friends and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. We'd love you to do that. So lots to talk about. We'll hear from Steven Gerrard ahead of course, Europa League football, Slavia Prague against Rangers tomorrow night. We'll look at the other British clubs involved in that. The ongoing Rami, after the weekend celebrations from Rangers fans, continues with various statements, right, left and centre, being released. We'll get the guys' thoughts on that as well. Good news is, as well as everybody getting ready to start back in the lower leagues, it looks as if the Scottish Women's Premier League will restart on the 4th of April. It looks it's a 21-game season for the girls. They're back as well. And the league is scheduled to end on the 6th of June. So that's good news as well for the SWPL. Roughie, fair amount of talks going on with the lower leagues. What's happening there? What's the update on when you guys are going to be back?
Well, Division 1 and Division 2 had a big meeting last night, and every club agreed that they wanted to play a 22 game to finish off the league. So they have submitted that back to the SPFL. Neil Doncaster's board is looking at it as we speak. So we'll have to wait and see if they agree with the 20-odd clubs, or they're going to go down their own road. So I think it was important that all the clubs stuck together, and that's what they have done in the email to the SPFL. So we'll just wait and see how that goes.
Yep, absolutely. Of course, we've got lots of things to talk about in regards to the serious issue of the Old Firm. There is a bit of skullduggery going on in the background, madness, but we'll let you know about that as well shortly. But first and foremost, the Old Firm game in doubt, Charlie. I have my doubts. I think it's a bit of scaremongering going on here just to try and get people to try and toe the line. I can't see the Old Firm game being postponed, called off. I just think I think that's trying to scaremonger a few people. I might be wrong. What do you think?
No, I totally agree with you. I think that's just the government and Nicola Sturgeon's people just trying to put a bit of power of it. We've got the power and we can dictate what goes on. So no, I think that, like you say, I think it's just a bit of tactics, and the Old Firm will go ahead. It's always the aftermath of what had happened, and we just need to get it to calm down and focus on football games again.
Yeah, I get the feeling, Tam, that the most sensible thing to do with this, apart from anything else, I think it's just a kick up the backside for Rangers and Celtic, a sit down to realise the enormity of what's facing them in this Old Firm clash in a couple of weeks. I would envisage a ring of steel around the area, around Parkhead, to stop anybody getting near it would be sensible. But right up until that game, I think there needs to be a concerted effort in both clubs to actually get the message across from all quarters, whether it's managers, players, whatever. Just keep hammering home, don't come near.
Yeah, definitely agree with that, Peter. It's the responsibility of the clubs now. Social media is such a big thing at the minute. A lot of people are stuck in the house and they're looking at social media for information and news. So I think it's important for both Celtic and Rangers to putting out the same message. Listen, do not come near this game. I think it would be very, very poor if supporters go and gather at this game. You've obviously seen Celtic doing it at Parkhead, and you've seen Rangers doing it at George Square and Ibrox. Listen, that's enough's enough now. We're all in lockdown. There's people's health at risk. So listen, stay away. And it's up to the clubs now, players, everybody, to be responsible and to put out the right message to everyone. And if you can do that, then I think you'll find that nobody will turn up at the game that day. But if they do, there's got to be punishment if they do. There's got to be a real police presence there. And they can't be allowed to gather in big groups at Parkhead.
Steven Gerrard certainly wants this one to go ahead.
I'll let them conversations continue with the powers that be. That's above my head at this football club. I'll continue to relay messages like I have previously, and let's hope that these games can go ahead.
Yeah, Douglas Park released a letter, obviously, replying to Nicola Sturgeon, who was very, very well, I wouldn't say the words harsh, but very, very strong in our condemnation of the conduct of the Rangers fans at the weekend. Douglas Park's letter to the First Minister, I'm at a loss as to what more Rangers could have done to limit the reaction to winning our 55th league title. It's been widely accepted as one of the greatest modern-day sporting achievements, and that should not be downplayed. Police intelligence indicated fans would congregate in groups, given the fact that it is not only an historic achievement, but also due to the behaviour from the other half of the Old Firm outside Parkhead in December. I want to note a letter you've yet to reply to from our managing director on the 8th of December 2020, which asks why Rangers were included with Celtic in relation to fan behaviour during a press briefing. Given the fact that John Swinney has failed to mention a wide range of other public gatherings that you did not take such a strong line on, leaves you open to criticism that there is an unbalanced approach when it comes to Rangers. Well, now, there's your reply to Nicola Sturgeon from Douglas Park. Dare I say it, Nicola Sturgeon has got a real insight in the last couple of weeks, Roughie, into the PR, the spin, and the madness that goes on when you're dealing with Celtic and Rangers.
Yeah, I think if Douglas Park had stopped short of explaining to everybody how much it meant to the club and that they'd told the fans, to try and behave properly, then I think we would have probably accepted that. But to dwell into other things in the past, let's deal with the then and now, and that's what we're talking about. Bringing up the past has nothing to do with it as far as I'm concerned. And it's up to the club, to say, and Celtic as well, to say this game coming up has to be properly policed. And I agree with Tam, if the cordon is broken, then these people have to be arrested. And I think the police will do that. I think the police have had enough of it. They're beginning to now get a bit of criticism, saying they're not doing their job properly. So I would like to think that this time, they will do their job properly and arrest anybody who breaks that cordon, or as you say, ring of steel. It was just when you mentioned ring of steel, Peter, the first thing that came to my head was Willie Young, who refereeing a Hibs Rangers game, and the chief inspector came into his dressing room and said, "Don't worry, Mr. Young, there is a ring of steel round the ground. There'll be no trouble today." And within 5 minutes, somebody broke that ring of steel onto the park. So it better be a good ring of steel.
Yeah, I think I'm almost certain it'll be difficult to get through the Glasgow police, although I hope I'm not wrong. Of course, the other thing about it, Tam, I don't think the word is in the Scottish dictionary just yet, but there's no doubt about Glasgow's favourite word. It's whataboutery.
It is, Peter. It's honestly that statement. There's no need for him to bring Celtic into that. Why does he not just say, "Listen, it was a great achievement for Rangers to win. Listen, we all acknowledge that, and the fans are entitled to be excited. But the message should have been stay at home, stay safe, and don't congregate at Ibrox." I don't think that message ever came out in the weeks prior. Not that I've seen in social media or in the press, and it's a bit late after the fact now to come out and start criticising people. So I think obviously in the back of that statement there, he should have said that Rangers supporters should be staying in the house now and not be congregating Ibrox in large groups. But he didn't do that. It's another little dig at Celtic, and Celtic have had a dig at Rangers, and social media I've seen as well. So as you said, it is, if they can do it, then why can't we do it? It's a what about it that is just rampant in Glasgow between Celtic and Rangers supporters. And I don't know about you, but I'm just fed up with it. I just think people should do the right thing and be a bit more responsible.
Yeah, you're talking about, of course, the tweet that came out from Celtic. This is what it had to say. Yep. Celtic Football Club statement, "We're not half of anything, not our problem." Charlie, if you were coming in from another planet, Charlie, you'd wonder about this specific. You'd wonder about this specific area, wouldn't you?
Nah, it's a bit of tittle tattle now at the moment, isn't it? Rangers are on this cloud. Cloud 9, the buzz of winning another championship again after so long, and Celtic are finding it hard to accept it. And it's a bit of tittle-tattle with both. I think both clubs have got to get together, round the table, bang their heads together and say, "Listen, we need to stamp this out for this Old Firm game. We need to do everything we can." I think that, we can only learn from the mistakes that we've had. We won't know what the consequences of the gatherings are for probably another 2 or 3 weeks when the COVID rises again, if it does. So at the moment, I just think that clubs have to just take their own stance on what they are, and when it comes to this Old Firm game, they have to get round the table or Zooms or whatever and say we have to, as both clubs, as the biggest clubs in Scotland, we have to join together and stop this and allow it so that no fans come near the stadium.
Yeah, I think after these statements have come out, that'll be the Guard of Honour up in the air now. That'll be it. It's not going to happen.
So. do you think it should happen?
No, Charlie, don't go down that road, because it's just an act. It's a complete noise up. I mean, it really is. I mean, I don't know. I don't know why people indulge in the whole noise up. Let's have a guard of honour and make sure our greatest rivals all stand there and clap us onto the park. It'll not happen. Quite simply, if you look at the conduct of Scottish football in general, every one of the clubs over the course of the last year, sporting integrity is not something at the forefront of anyone's mind. It doesn't exist in this country. In fact, dare I say, Charlie, you only have to read our news feed on Facebook and sometimes Twitter and definitely on YouTube to realise that whataboutery is alive and well, and of course downright blatant lunacy as well. So guards of honour is just a no-no.
Do you know what I would love? I would love all the subs and all the staff of the Rangers to get onto the pitch at Celtic Park before the game and clap the players on. I think it'd be brilliant.
Yeah. Good luck with that, Charlie.
You want to incite a riot? We're trying to calm things down, Charles.
I know, Charlie. Why don't you just fly a biplane across Celtic Park before kickoff? That would be.
Are the players taking rockets and flares onto the park?
They've got their scarves in that. They've got their scarves in that to tie on the goalpost and that for after the match.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the one thing about it, and I think Steven Gerrard makes a good point, there's a couple of things. I thought it was interesting, his comments last night to Peter Smith on the ITV News chat that he had with him. But first and foremost, I think the point that Steven Gerrard has made speaking to everyone was the fact that Rangers fans may well have broken the law. We've dealt with it. We've condemned it. Steven Gerrard, talking about his players, said they deserve to celebrate the title win.
The size of the achievement and the emotions that came with that. I think the players deserve to celebrate. They've worked ever so hard during this journey, sacrificed a lot, put a tremendous amount of effort into to get this done and get it over the line. We also, as a group, have had some criticism along the way, and we've been down at times along the way as well. So when you finally get this over the line, the feeling's difficult to describe.
Yeah, I don't think you can begrudge the players their moment to enjoy it. It was for them a tremendous achievement. I think whether it was ahead of expectation or not, they over the course of the season have been magnificent, Roughie.
Oh, they have. I mean, the stats are there for everybody to see. Nobody's been able to lay a glove on them in the league. And it's every year now. It's just a given that they're going to win 1-0, 2-0, or 3-0. And that's the way it is, and you can't take anything away from them. I do understand why the fans were celebrating. 9 years of, can you imagine getting into your work and having to take verbal slagging from your opposition, and then all of a sudden it turns round. And I can get where the Rangers supporters came from. I think every supporter would be the same and rejoicing, and quite rightly so. And they've had a wonderful year. That let's be serious, it's not finished yet.
Yeah, it's a good point you make, Roughie, because obviously Europa League is at the forefront of their mind, Charlie. Slavia Prague is going to be difficult, but not unsurmountable.
No, absolutely not. I think if they go there with the right game plan and what they've produced this season so far in Europa League, then I'd expect Rangers to get something from the game tomorrow night. And, at home, the record speaks for itself. So if they can go there and like I say, I think if they can get an away goal and bring it back to Ibrox, then I could see Rangers getting through this and getting themselves into the last 8. And like I say, being selfish again, that it allows probably us to get closer to an automatic Champions League spot for a Scottish club, which would be a fantastic achievement.
Charlie, mentioning there it would be a fantastic achievement. I don't think they've achieved it since the 2007-2008 run, which you were involved in, Charlie. But over and above that, you look at Slavia Prague, Tam, they've defeated Bayer Leverkusen this season. They've got Leicester. They are runaway leaders as well of the Czech league.
No, they're a good side, Peter. I just looked at a little bit of their record in Europe over the last 3 or 4 years. They're very strong at home. I think the only team that's beat them at home over the last 3 years is Chelsea, 1-0. And as you said, they've beat Seville, they've beat Leverkusen, they beat Zenit St. Petersburg. Leicester couldn't beat them. So they're a very strong side. They're 11 points clear of Sparta Prague, who destroyed Celtic. So they're a good side, and this will be a very, very difficult test for Rangers. But I just feel as if they can go away from home and even get a draw, I think that you'd fancy them at Ibrox. I think they're very, very strong at Ibrox this season. Nobody's getting near them. Scoring a lot of goals, not conceding many. And I think if they can go over there tomorrow night and get maybe a score draw, I think they'd be massive favourites to take the tie. But it'll be a difficult game. Slavia Prague are a good side. Leicester are unable to score against them over 2 games. I think it's harder to break down than Antwerp for Rangers.
Yeah, absolutely. And they've had a good record over the last couple of years in the Europa League, got to the quarter-final stage, knocked out in penalties by Chelsea, Charlie. So this will be indeed a real test of them. It would be, I think Steven Gerrard would be absolutely delighted to get out of there with a draw in the Czech Republic.
No, I think you'd be spot on. I think a draw away from home in Europe is good, especially when you get into the latter stages of a European competition. But on form, if you look at how Rangers have done in the Europa League, then I think they'd be slight favourites. But this is the biggest test that they've had probably all season, and if they can get anything out of their away leg and bring it back home, like Tam said, they'll be strong favourites at home.
Yeah, listen, getting to the quarterfinals would be no mean feat, Roughie. It certainly would again enhance his stature as a manager who can not only deliver a title, but increase Rangers' credibility on the European stage. That would be a real feather in his cap. Of course, everybody always putting 2 and 2 together and saying that the Liverpool job is waiting there for him. Some have suggested this season, but Steven Gerrard, speaking to Peter Smith last night on ITV, said, "Look, I don't think you quite grasp how I and all the Liverpool fans love Jurgen Klopp. It's not going to happen. It's too early."
Yeah, it is too early just now. But if Klopp was to decide that he was going to leave and Liverpool came for Steven Gerrard, he would be a Liverpool manager. There's no question about that. If Liverpool come asking, he's not going to knock it back and say, "Oh no, I'm going to wait a couple of years." You only get asked once, and once will be enough. But that isn't there just now. So I think the Rangers supporters can feel quite confident. He's not looking to go anywhere. But we all know when a club like that comes calling, he isn't going to say no.
But the good thing for him is he's open and honest about it. He said that, didn't he? He said, "Listen, Liverpool's my club. Do one day I want to manage Liverpool Football Club?" Absolutely. But at the moment, I just think that he needs, another year of, like you say, if they can get Rangers into the Champions League, testing himself against the best, and then, trying to win the league again for another for 2 in a row, and then, building on that, because, Jurgen's not going anywhere. Peter, you're a big Liverpool fan, and they're having a tough time, but they won't be changing manager in the summer.
No. I mean, listen, when you look at all the circumstances surrounding Jurgen Klopp, how difficult he's had personally in his life, and then, of course, all the changes they've had to suffer in that back line, I do think there's a wee bit of going on in the background that's maybe not keeping the ship happy, but nevertheless, I think the owners will look at Jurgen Klopp and say, "Listen, that is a year to remember. This one is a blip. Let's get back at it." But I do think, Tam, the key area here is there's never a better situation for Steven Gerrard to be in. He's at a good club. They've won the title. He's got a chance there to go and build for another couple of years.
Yeah, he has. They've got a chance to really go and dominate. Listen, I think that Gerrard he's adored by the Rangers supporters now. He's an absolute hero. He's a legend. He can do no wrong. He's stopped 10 in a row. So I think that takes the pressure off him a little bit. And next season he'll be looking to build. As we've said on this show, Celtic have got a massive rebuild this summer, and Rangers are in a great position. To go and further away from Celtic. I think Rangers will win the league by 15, 20 points this season. That's a huge gap to close. And I think that if Rangers can keep their better players and build, and I think Gerrard will get money. I think he'll go and sign 3 or 4 in the summer, and if they can start the season flying again and they get, as Charlie said, get into the Champions League, then there's an opportunity for Rangers to go and dominate for the next season or two. So I don't think he'll be going anywhere just yet, but I agree with Roughie. As soon as Liverpool shut the door and ask for him, he's away. Now, whether that's a year's time, 3 years' time, we don't know, but as soon as that call comes, he's away.
Yeah, good point that you make, Tam, although I would disagree with you on one point. Roughie, if experience over the years has taught me anything, 15 and 20 points up is diddly squat when it comes to Celtic and Rangers in the race for a title. It can turn on a sixpence at any moment, just depending on how determined one or the other is at, splashing the cash.
Peter, sorry to interrupt there. I think go to the end of the season, it's back to zero again. That league title's gone. Steven Gerrard then all of a sudden's under pressure again. If he loses, for instance, if Steven Gerrard lost 5 or 6, 7 games in the bounce, the Rangers fans wouldn't be happy with that. So he just needs to reset himself and start a new platform, new season, new gone. That's gone now. And that's what the best club's done. Sir Alex done it for years. Once that title's won, that's pushed to the side and we move on, we look forward. And you cannot rest in your laurels. And he'll be saying the same to his players. We cannot rest in our laurels. We need to build on what we've done. And, the goldfish bowl of the old firm is that, you look at Lennon, he lost, a few games and all of a sudden the pressure was hyped on him again. And that'll be the same with Steven next season. If he doesn't start well, there'll be sections of the Rangers support wanting change. And that's just normal of being a manager of Rangers and Celtic.
Yeah, and the key issue here, Roughie, quite simply is, and the big question coming up in this next couple of months is the Celtic manager, who they're going to get. Is he someone that's going to galvanise the support? What budget is he going to get to transform the side and make them a force to challenge Steven Gerrard's title-winning team? These are all big questions, Roughie, with season ticket sales fast approaching. And despite all the nonsense that, the lesser-informed Rangers and Celtic fans always spout out, Celtic have got a good bank balance, they've got money, and they'll have a kitty.
Yeah, I think that the budget will determine who comes, because if it's somebody worthwhile, they'll want a budget. They'll see the gap that's been created, and they're not going to come in there and go into it with their hands tied behind their back. They'll want to know what's available. And by all accounts, Celtic are going to lose maybe 4 or 5 players, big players. You're talking there could be 35 million, or even, I can't put a figure on. I'm only talking 35, 40 million if you get rid of 5 of the players. Yeah, so I think the new manager would. I know. Well, I don't know how many he's going to go. If you went through the whole list.
Don't put a figure on it, Roughie. You're leaving yourself wide open to getting battered.
You can't, because you can't. Well, there's Leicester bidding 15 million for Edward. That's not going to happen. So
no, they haven't. No, they haven't. No, they haven't. That was just an English journalist plucked a number out of his head and wrote the story.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That kind of money is ridiculous. So if you're talking Edward, if you're talking Sham, if you're talking Roderick, if you're talking others, you're way up at 40 million.
No, but the thing
there's no point investing.
They're in the last years of the contract, some of them, so they're not going to get top. They're not going to get top dollar, and they've not played well enough.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is the manager.
With all due respect, see when you started, Roughie.
Oh,
you see
the manager that's coming in will want money.
Statement? Yeah. Do you want a pint of lager? Let's have a pint of lager and turn this into a pub brawl over what one of them's worth. We argued for a year over what Morelos is worth, and then everybody went absolutely ballistic on social media about it. It's a complete nonsense. It's a nonsense.
Well, the point I'm making is the manager they bring in will determine what they spend. Because if you get a manager coming in saying, I don't need to spend much money, I can use my house and who I can bring in. So keep your money. It depends what kind of manager, what he's thinking about coming into the club, what he's going to do.
I don't think many managers would say that,
well,
to be honest. I think we'd want money to spend.
To get a job tonight.
Who are they?
Surprise you
I
what some
must
managers
admit.
would do to say they're going to do this and do that and to get the job.
Have you experienced that at
names,
Thistle,
Roughie.
Roughie?
I've never dealt in that kind of money at Thistle.
Brilliant.
I went in to sign with wee Bertie once, and I think I asked for 30 quid. The first thing he said to me was, "Do you know how many pies we'd have to sell to make that a profit?" That's what he said to me.
That's when you know things are bad. Anyway, yeah, I mean, listen, Eddie Thompson says, Peter, you're only worth what the buyer is willing to pay. Yeah, but, you know, it's not as simple as that, Eddie. I know you're obviously looking at the supply and the demand of this, but, you know, sometimes clubs dig in, sometimes clubs get fees for players that you can't believe that they managed to get, both at Rangers, Celtic and every other club along the way, digging their heels in. Yeah, Frimpong's a perfect example. I mean, I'm sure Aberdeen wished they'd taken the 7 million off Villa for Scott McKenna at the time. You know, all these decisions at specific times, and it depends how good a place you're in with the player, his contract, as Charlie mentioned as well. There are so many things in this one, but nevertheless, we shall wait and see. Couple of things unsavoury, and I think it's a growing concern, which a lot of players down south in England, a lot of associations, not only here but across Europe and the world, are mentioning the need for people to supply some kind of identification if they are in any way owning, you know, a social media post. If they have a Twitter, a Facebook, or whatever. You know, you have to be accountable for the posts that you put out there. And I think there's a growing feeling, Tam, that will become, you know, if not law, but certainly a requirement over the next 4 or 5 years, because you only have to look at the last couple of days. Shane Duffy, the abuse that was fired out to that boy, I think, is sick. But again, it will only come when eventually the authorities get in tow with the social media companies and say, look, you either give us the names, get them to register, or it's not going to happen.
Yeah, listen, we've spoken about this many times on the show, haven't we? It seems to be that every week or every month there's some player or manager getting sickening abuse on social media. Listen, enough's enough. I think that these companies know how to do it. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. They can do it. They can ask people for their passport, their driver's license, their address. You know, they've got their IP addresses. You know, and they should be held accountable for what they're saying. And it's easy for people now just to. I could go and make up an account, you know, in 2 seconds. You know, don't put any of my details in. Just be a faceless individual, and I can go out and give people pelters. You know, and sickening abuse. And Shane Duffy, it's an absolute joke. I seen his mother was on Twitter defending him, and you know, that guy's mothers are on there, and yeah, that's it there. That's the post there. And listen, Shane Duffy's not had a good time up at Celtic. He's not played well, but you know, the guy's got a life. You know, he's a human being. His father died. I'm sure a very, very tough thing for him. And you know, he's getting people, you know, sending him private messages saying about his father, you know, sitting in abuse. It's not on. It's disgraceful. And listen, it applies for everybody on either side. You know, it's no good enough, Peter. And these people need to be held to account. And it's up to these big companies to start putting the foot down and outing these people, because enough's enough.
Yeah, I noticed a number of people saying, you know, Shane Duffy didn't do himself any favours with his displays. I mean, get a grip. It's a game of football. Just because you play bad, you think you're open to all sorts of abuse for you, your family. I mean, that's just lunacy, Charlie. Some people think there's justification for absolutely abusing people.
Yeah, listen, I've sat beside James. I used to sit beside James McLean at Stoke, and the stuff that he used to get, letters, you know, social media, it's disgusting behaviour. And like you say, at some point, these big companies have to take responsibility, and, you know, like you say, passport, driver's license. Doesn't matter how bad Shane Duffy has been on the pitch. That's got nothing. That's irrelevant. But to be able to send him what's going on, losing his father, and now his mum's having to come out and defend her own son in the public world, is shocking, and it's sad to see. And we as players or ex-players have to try and get together and push these companies, because we've got the platform to push the companies to do what's right, and that is bring these people to justice, and hopefully the police can catch these people that are sending these messages, and they're dealt with.
Yeah, and I'll leave it at that by saying, for some of the numpties that are posting on here, it's all banter. It's certainly not all banter, and something will be done. And most of the people who are morons who post this sort of stuff, there will eventually be legislation, and there will be a consequence for some of the abuse. That is a stonewall certainty. It's coming. Aberdeen. Here's a look at the candidates who are all still in the running for the job.
The betting market to replace Darren McManus as the next Aberdeen manager has been constantly changing over the last few days, so let's have a look at some of the candidates. Stephen Glass is the early favourite. The former Dons midfielder is in charge of Atlanta too, having been involved with the MLS side for the past 4 years. It's the 44-year-old's first full-time job in management, and his ties with Aberdeen's sister club in the States may be too strong to ignore. He is good friends with chairman Dave Cormack. Stephen Robinson is probably the most McManus-like candidate on the shortlist and is available following his departure from Motherwell at the end of 2020. Robinson led the Steelmen to 2 cup finals, European qualification, and oversaw an exciting team of youngsters, several of whom were sold for a lot of money. Neil Lennon is the most experienced man on the list, but how would he be viewed by the Pittodrie faithful? Having just overseen a shambles of a season at Celtic, his stock is not at its highest. He has been in the management game for over a decade now. He's won 11 trophies, including 5 top-flight titles. Enzo Maresca has been linked with the vacant role at Celtic recently and is from the Pep Guardiola School of Coaching. Maresca has been assistant at Sevilla and West Ham and is currently in charge of the Manchester City development squad. He could be a real coup. And Sean Maloney is highly thought of in coaching circles, with the former Scotland international currently the assistant at Belgium, the number 1 ranked team in the world. The 38-year-old started as a coach with the Celtic Youth Academy 3 years ago, and he is from Aberdeen. He's reportedly keen on the prospect of becoming a number 1. Other names, such as Derek Adams, Jim Goodwin and current interim boss Paul Sheeran, have all been linked, with the Dons set to take their time over their next appointment.
What do you make of the candidates, Tam?
I think there's some good names in there, Peter. I think it's an enormous job in Scottish football. I think it's a big job in British football. Aberdeen are a huge club with a brilliant history. So I think there's a lot of people who'd be interested in that job, not just in Scotland, but in England and abroad. I look at the favourite there, Stephen Glass. I know Glassy very well. I know there's been no contact whatsoever between Aberdeen and him. So I think he'll be on a shortlist. I don't think there's any doubt about that. He's coaching Atlanta just now. He was obviously the interim manager when the manager gets sacked, and I think Gabriel Hines has took over. So he's back to the Atlanta under-23s. But as you said, I think the link between Atlanta and Aberdeen, I think that's a very, very strong link, and I think that's something that both clubs are wanting to, get more out of. So that could be a possibility. But for Stephen Glass, he's an Aberdeen boy, Aberdeen fan. So I don't think he would knock that job back if they came calling. But there's other names on there, Stephen Robinson as well, who was brilliant at Motherwell. He's free, it wouldn't cost any compensation, and Jim Goodwin as well. So there's a lot of good names on there that Aberdeen fans would be happy with. Stephen Glass is an intriguing one for me.
Yeah, I think he's the favourite, Charlie, but I'm intrigued by Sean Maloney because I think he's got something to offer. It'll be interesting to see how he has developed from Belgium working under Roberto Martinez when he eventually gets to be a manager as well.
The thing for Sean will be how ambitious he is. Does he want to leave that current situation he's in, the best team in the world, with the players that he's working with every day, to then go back to Aberdeen? It's how anxious he is to be a number 1, because Roberto might do well with Belgium and all of a sudden could end up at Barcelona in the summer or somewhere else, and Sean will probably go with him there. So it's how desperate he is to become a number 1. But the one for me is the Stephen Glass one. Is obviously, I'm lucky, fortunate enough that I grew up, around the corner from his mum and dad, Dundee born. So sort of keep in contact, and I think it would be one that would interest him. Been away from home for a long time. Aberdeen's a club that he done well for and got a move to Newcastle. So he's definitely the one for me that wouldn't be a surprise. And the usual, like you say, Stephen Robinson would be a good candidate and a selection. But I think Stephen's probably the strong favourite in this because of his links and how close he is to Dave McCormack, and we'll see where it goes.
Yep, we'll see what happens there. Roughie, some other news today with the club that obviously very close to your heart, Hearts. Anne Mudge is going to hand over the ownership of the club in the summer. She'll transfer that 75.1% to the Foundation of Hearts, who will then own the club. They've paid back the £2.5 million that she is due. And then it's all about the Hearts supporters. And I think when you look back on the evidence, she's still going to be there as the chairwoman, Roughie, but when you look back at the evidence of how the Hearts fans have really stood by their club and backed them with money, I think there's a bright future for them.
Well, financially there is. Even away going back to the administration days when the fans started the movement and paying money into the club, and we're talking about a lot of money. We're talking about 15,000 fans signed up to this, so that's a lot of money coming into the club year on year. I agree with you. I think she'll be part of the club. I don't think she'll walk away from it. It'd be interesting to see how the format works now that the fans have the ownership. How they go about that, but it's certainly positive. There's nothing negative about Hearts. They're really gearing up for the Premiership next year. I'm sure that the manager already have a list of names to improve the club, because I think he will have to improve it on the pitch. So I think if you're a Hearts fan, it's exciting times ahead, and all down to the fans.
Yeah, and of course, Roughie, in the contract with Robbie Neilson, I think if they do get back to the Premiership, then they're going on a summer tour of Maryhill where they'll play Partick Thistle home and away 6 times. It's just
hands across the water.
It's just something you guys would want to do, Roughie. How many times have you played them?
It's Heart, and I don't even know. It's Hearts or Thistle next year.
Yeah.
They're dropping the Midlothian. They're dropping the Midlothian. It's going to be Heart or Thistle.
Brilliant, Roughie. Anyway, apart from anything else, I think Hearts returning to the Premiership will be a good thing. Great to see them back there. Charlie, what's your thoughts on Darren Fletcher? He's now going to be the technical director at Manchester United. He came in there as a coach. Suddenly he's the technical director as well. Great lad. Absolutely. If you ever wanted somebody who's the ideal ambassador on how to conduct yourself as a footballer, he epitomises it.
Yeah, no, I was reading social media earlier. I was fortunate enough, I sent him a text and he texted me back. So he's still going to coach, he was telling me. He's still going to be involved in the coaching side of it, but also doing the technical side of the football club as well. But we keep going back about experience. He can only get experience by learning on the job, and he's going to do that. If you talk about somebody that will represent Manchester United in the right way, understand the DNA of the football club, and Fletch is a great example for that. So, good luck to him. It's a huge job. He'll be dealing in big players and big numbers and things like that for everything else. So, no, good luck to him, because he's a great guy, and he's had a wonderful career. And it's good to see that Man United are using ex-players and bringing them into positions high up in the football club.
Yeah, I think it was an absolute shoo-in that they were going to bring him back. Tammy eats, sleeps and drinks Manchester United.
Yeah, he's a fantastic lad. I was fortunate to play in Scotland in the 21s room many years ago, and so humble. I'm sure Charlie would say that as well. What he's achieved in his career, the humility he's got about him. He's so down to earth and he's such a great person. So I think that's to get people to understand Man United, that people that come through the Alex Ferguson years, they understand what it takes to win. Guys like Darren Fletcher are invaluable. So I think that he'll do a great job there, and I'm glad to see him still involved at the club.
Yep. Okay. Down south, there's one game tonight. It's Man City against Southampton. I'm not quite sure that will catch your eye, Roughie. Would that be a game you'd be watching tonight, bearing in mind there's Champions League football?
Well, I'll be Champions League football tonight. I'll be watching my team tonight, and hopefully they don't make a mess of it the way they did the last time. But as you know, any team with Messi in it, anything can happen. So let's hope it
Well-
doesn't happen tonight.
Well, you mentioned that, Roughie. I mean, I can't see Barcelona pulling it off this time, Roughie.
I
to be
said
honest
that the
with you.
last time.
I know you did, and I texted you after it all. But I have to say, Charlie, last night I thought to myself, okay, I looked at the two games and I thought, oof, I'm definitely going to sit down here and enjoy Juventus because this one is just set up nicely for Ronaldo, to produce a wee bit of magic and Juventus get through there. What a game. I mean, it's one of the great Champions League games last night.
That was phenomenal. Sadly for me, I never watched it. I was in bed early, and I woke up this morning to all these, games were unbelievable, and reading the papers and that this morning was just great games. And I've seen Pepe's performance, highlights of Pepe's performance at 38 years of age, still dominating. Somebody like Ronaldo, and just shows that these clubs can perform, and when they're at the top level, they can bring matches out that nobody expects. So tonight's a big night for Barcelona, and obviously getting a new president, and it's they need to win this, but I don't see it happening. PSG will be too strong again, and we'll see where it goes. But it's Man City's going to get closer to the title as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Just for the benefit of anyone who's not aware of it, Charlie had COVID, last week, and obviously is recovering. And thankfully, all the messages of support, very, very kind of people, wishing him a speedy recovery. Just in case you're wondering why he said he was in bed early, I know Roughie thought lucky so and so, but obviously he was just feeling
Definitely not.
Just feeling a wee bit tired, and he decided to.
He doesn't usually go that early.
He just decided to miss the Juventus game. Tam, for God's sake, Charlie needs to have a long hard look at himself, doesn't he?
I can go into my bed at 7:40 and I'll be about my bed for 7:45 for the kick-off.
There's nobody going to argue with you on that, Tam. But Tam, I mean, I don't know about you, but I mean, it was just absolutely geared. The game was, it had everything. It had chances galore. It was magnificent. And then, of course, even the great number 7, Ronaldo, he turns in the wall and allows Oliveira to score the winner.
Oh, you can't do that in the wall, can you? The managers would go mental, supporters, and turn their back in the wall. And Juventus, they should have went through in normal time. They had some chances at the bar towards the end of the game. Porto were hanging on, weren't they, for extra time and penalties. And they took their one opportunity in extra time and took the free kick. And then obviously Juventus scored straight away. And then in the last 3 or 4 minutes was the Alamo. Juventus had a penalty. It wasn't a penalty, but the VAR had a look at it. So brilliant game, and fair play to Porto. That's Juventus. I think the last 3 seasons they've been put out on away goals. So it's not been a happy hunting ground for them. But Porto in there, not a giant in terms of Europe. So for one of them to put a big club like Juventus out is a great achievement.
Yeah, I think you mentioned, I don't know if it was you as well, Charlie, I'm sure everybody agrees with the point on Haaland at Borussia Dortmund. He is an absolute superstar. I mean, he's reached 20 Champions League goals in double quick time. 14 games. Neymar took 38. Messi took 40. Mbappe took 40. Ronaldo 56. And Ibrahimovic 71. But, I mean, Charlie, if he gets the ball and he's square onto you, you're goosed. He's
phenomenal, isn't he? It's, you would talk about Mbappe and, 22 years of age. And this lad, he's been phenomenal, isn't he, since he's gone to Dortmund. The English clubs didn't really want to gamble on him. And Dortmund took the gamble and it's paid off. But the big thing for him is now, if they don't qualify for the Champions League next year, they're struggling in the Bundesliga. And if they don't qualify, he'll be thinking, well, do I try to go somewhere else, or do I try and get them back into the Champions League? So he's got a big decision to make in the summer. But I think there'll be a queue of clubs, waiting for him in the summer, because a lot of the big clubs need a number 9 for next season. So, I think he's just needs to keep his head down, doing what he's doing, and the world's his oyster, as they say.
Yeah, well done to Ronnie Chapman, who's just posted on our social media. Alfredo Morelos will take 10 games next season to break that record. Well done, Ronnie. Nothing like
Ronnie's a Rangers
enthusiasm and
bat.
confidence in you. Oh, wow, of course, he's staunch. But well done, Ronnie. It's always good bit of fun on it. I'm sure Alfredo
It'll
Morelos
not be
will
with
be feeling
Rangers.
the pressure.
Maybe with somebody else.
Roughie, I was just looking there at Haaland. I mean, as Charlie said there, there's big decisions to be made. I think he's now at that point where Dortmund will just they'll actually have to cave in because the big guns will become calling for him in the summer.
Oh, I think the big guns are actively wondering, trying to find out how much money it's going to cost and can they do it. Obviously, with the financial restraints this year, you would think it would have to be one of the big ones. But again, I don't want to get into saying how much he's worth or how much he's going to go for because with the records he's breaking just now, I'm staying away. No, I'm staying away.
He's a figure. How much is he worth?
No,
Sixpence in shillings. Go on, tell us.
I'll go 90 million.
Oh, 90 million. 90 million. 5 million more
What's the
than
Dortmund
Pogba.
signing for? 20?
Well,
Dortmund signed him for something low, didn't it? Very, aye.
I know. And Man United wouldn't pay 108 million for Sancho. If Man United weren't paying 108 million, which Dortmund wanted for Sancho, Charlie, Haaland's going for a lot more, surely.
He's gone for 100 million plus, at least. It's just where he goes. It's who can afford him. Barcelona and Real Madrid can't afford him because of the financial problems and building a new stadium at the Bernabeu. It's got to be an English club in it, or PSG if they get rid of somebody. That's why I see it. I think I'd like to see him at Man City. I think he would suit Man City as the number 9, but it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I'd like to see him at Liverpool, but nevertheless, anyway, PSG.
Looking at Champions League next year.
Peter, would you sell? Would you
sell?
He's
not want to play in the Europa League, is he?
Would you sell Salah and get him?
Yes. Oh, in a heartbeat. I mean, I think Borussia Dortmund paid 17 million for him. He'll go for over 100 million.
What a profit they're going to get.
Absolutely.
But even
and above that,
the lad Bellingham's playing well as well, isn't he? Like, for a 17-year-old kid going from playing in the Championship in England to going and playing in the Champions League and the levels he's playing at, for what they paid for him, what's he worth now? What's Sancho worth? They've got
Charlie.
That's 200 million.
Do you think Haaland will have a 10% sell-on in his contract?
His old man will.
Yeah, absolutely.
But his dad was saying that he was geared up. He's built for the Premier League, isn't he? Like he's a massive Leeds fan, and his old man played for Man City, things like that. So I think the Premier League would suit him.
Yeah, absolutely. Roughie, I know I'm going to go for a PSG win again. I think they'll win it by a couple of goals. Tam, what do you think?
Yeah, Barcelona are not the same side anymore. I think PSG too strong. Mbappe might get another hat trick. There you go.
Charlie?
2-0 PSG.
Roughie?
Yep, I think 2-0 would be enough. Yep, 2-0.
Yeah, 2-0 for you. And amazingly, it brought back a lot of nostalgic memories when I saw Juan Laporta now as the president of Barcelona for a second period. He's got his work cut out, Charlie, because for me, I think the Barcelona side that was built by Pep Guardiola was the best club side I have ever seen play football. They had everything. I say that taking into consideration what I thought was a fantastic AC Milan side, a magnificent Liverpool side, a great Bayern Munich side, and a great Real Madrid side of the early 60s. I just think Barcelona is the greatest club side ever to play in Europe.
Absolutely, Peter. I think how they played and how they dominated the ball in possession, how they destroyed big European clubs. Looking back, how they played at Wembley against Man United, and everybody thinks that because they're so small that they could bully them. They just kept the ball, and it's now Big decision for Barcelona where they go now, and new owner, £1 billion in debt. How do they get rid of that? Is that going and selling Messi and hoping that they're producing players younger? I know they've got 2 or 3 young superstars coming through, so they got big decisions to make. But no, they're probably the greatest European side I've ever seen, and how they won the trophies.
Yeah. Anybody better in your mind, Tam? Have you got somebody else that would?
No,
surpass
Peter.
them?
I think you're right. Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets. That midfield three. You couldn't get the ball off them. They were awesome. Obviously Messi in there, Ronaldinho. Eto'o. What a side. Piqué at the back with Big Puyol. Brilliant team. The only one that I didn't fancy was a goalie. Who was the goalkeeper back then?
Valdez.
He
Valdez,
him, but he never really had much to do. His Barcelona had about 80% possession. So
Of course,
I agree with the boys. They were the best team I've seen.
Yeah, let's not forget that Roughie thought Puyol was a donkey.
No,
I
thought.
Yeah.
Did he? I did say he was a donkey.
Oh, you were on this show for 9 years saying he was rubbish.
The exact words I used is sometimes he can be a bomb scare. along with the other one, Ramos.
He's got about 3
He's
Champions
another
Leagues.
bomb scare.
Ramos.
Great players.
Ramos is
Great players.
He's one of the best centre-halves ever.
But bomb scare.
Mate, he's got a better goal scoring record than some strikers that I know.
He scored their goal in 3 seasons.
The biggest bomb scare is David Luiz, or David Luiz, or whatever you call him.
Yeah. Well, to be honest with you, Roughie, I would take 11 Puyols in my side. I just thought he was magnificent. Anyway, apart from that, the other match is Liverpool against Leipzig. Jurgen Klopp says it's Anfield's not to blame for the poor form.
Recently, if you want, Tottenham and West Ham were really good games when you see how they are doing around these games. But then was consistency the issue, and so yeah, that's maybe the reason. So it has nothing to do with Anfield. There's nothing bad to say about Anfield. Absolutely nothing that we don't like. The pitch is not good enough. That's all fine. It was about the games.
Yeah, tough times for Liverpool, Tam. They're against Leipzig. They've got a 2-goal advantage. I'm taking Leipzig to win 3-2 at Anfield.
It's not at Anfield, is it? Is it Hungary? Yeah,
no, it's at Anfield. It's at Anfield.
I think they'll get through, Peter. But I'm not sure they'll win. They're playing terrible at the minute. But I think they're obviously 2-0 up for the other leg. I think they'll be fine. But Klopp needs to start getting a couple of results for me up that table.
Yes. Charlie?
I think Liverpool win 2-0.
Yeah. What about yourself, Roughie?
I think if Leipzig score, they'll be about at the side of the park with a giant-sized shovel for the rest of the game. And I'm just talking about in your house.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. I'll be raging if that happens. But nevertheless, I think Liverpool have got it in the bag. Anyway, apart from anything else, we love our football. We're certainly going to be watching it tonight. And then, obviously, Tam, myself, or Roughie will phone Charlie and tell him what happened, because Charlie's only about another hour away from heading to bed again. That's what happens.
Quiz night on a Wednesday night, Peter.
Yeah,
quiz night on a Wednesday night.
Quiz night?
We joined the
quiz night, Charlie?
Just on the Zoom, and people from down south, we participate in a quiz, and there's about 30 or 40 couples in it, and we share a Zoom and have a quiz on a Wednesday night.
Can Roughie join?
Look at Roughie's face. Look at Roughie's face. He's awake.
£3 entry.
He's awake.
There's quite a lot of the couples from Manchester. No,
just in the Blackpool, Lancashire area.
Roughie's away to get his car keys, so he can chuck them in the middle. Anyway, apart from anything else, I'll leave you with that thought. Listen, enjoy your football. Just before we go, give me your prediction on. I'm going to go Slavia Prague 1, Rangers 1. Tam?
I'm going to agree with you. I think it'll be 1 each, Peter. I think it'll be a tight, either 0-0 or 1 each. 1 each I'll go for.
Jazz?
It depends on how much the players have had a drink. You know, Saturday, Sunday, how much you're going to take. I'm going to go.
Is McGregor sobered up?
I'm going to go 2-2.
2-2, Roughie.
I think this is the best team they're going to play against, and if they tighten up at the back, I think they can come away with an away goal, but they will get beat 2-1.
Okay, there you are. You heard it here first, all about opinions. Thanks to the countless people who have been messaging us on Twitter, on Facebook and on YouTube. Don't forget to follow us on our Facebook. The competition is still going at the moment. It's on our Facebook page. You could win yourself an iPad, an Xbox and a Diego Maradona canvas. It's the PLZ hat-trick competition in conjunction with Arnold Clark. It's 3 prizes all in the one. All you have to do is follow the instructions, hit the send message, answer the question, submit your details, and the winner will be announced at the end of the month. Good luck with that from Charlie, from Tam, from Roughie and myself. Thanks for watching.
Expect the best used car deals guaranteed.